shadows.
And then he was excommunicated, and any man who is too extreme for red.
You think darkness is your ally. I was born in it, shaped by Bane Anatomy Explore. Hello, this is me, I'm Kenish, and welcome to another wonderful video. A supervillain who was able to deduce Batman's true identity within 3 months and then broke on the very back of the Cap Cruisers. Bane is known for his raw power and cunning mind. But Bane's character is not that of a one-dimensional villain from an animated series. He is much more than this. Curse, like most great Batman and villains, has a tragic backstory, and his formative years have shaped him into the man he was made. Much like how Batman drew his strength from his willpower, hard work and resilience, Bane was a product of his own making, only potentially enhanced by a drug called Venom, which Bane has to pump directly into his brain every 12 hours. While at first glance he just seems to be a huge muscle mass, a close examination of Bane's anatomy reveals a fascinating and complex character, from the origins of his poison-enhanced muscles to the functioning of his mind. There is one to explore when it comes to Bane's anatomy. So let's start and explore the many facts of the physiology and psychology of this epic villain, and let's say that without hope there can be no true despair, just like I'm terrorizing Gotham. Before going into the explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thanks, and let's get started. The story of Holy Bane began on the highly corrupt Caribbean island of Santa Prisa, which had some of the most despotic roles and the most corrupt government in the world. And trust me, it's a saga of cruelty, violence and insanity, something that is a staple with most Batman villains. Here he would serve as a test subject for dangerous military tests. Bane himself asked for the procedure and defied any conventional logic, but agreed with his enormous ego. Now Bane was taken to a laboratory where he was given Venom, a prototype drug that had previously killed several other test subjects in a matter of seconds. B was a member of the League of Shadows, and then he was excommunicated, and every man who was too extreme for Venom and its wonderful effects on the human body. Before we go into more detail about how Bane's body reacts to Venom, let's just investigate what the drug is. The drug first appeared in the comic Legends of the Dark Knight and was the driving force behind the Batman Poison story arc in issue 17 of the 2006 comic book titled JSA Classified. It became known that Rex Tyler's Bannerman Pharmaceuticals made the drug with the Miracle formula. The scientist who created Venom clearly did not think enough, because he practically made the drug from aggressive androgenic anabolic steroids. The substance is basically steroid hormone that improves or regulates the male characteristics in an animal or human, while anabolic substances control the metabolic activity in question and the biosynthesis of complex molecules. For simplicity, we simply call these androgenic anabolic AAS. Quite clearly, AAS are derivatives of testosterone that affect muscle mass, and steroids significantly accelerate the production of the same. But you should know that these things often have several side effects, and wonderful videos do not promote the use of such substances anyway. Apart from AAS poison, a central nervous system also had stimulants, or CAS, which are addictive stimulants that increase physical activity, mental awareness and attention span. This dangerous mixture caused a fleeting reaction in the test subjects, and all these effects were further enhanced, or, shall we say, aggravated by the ingestion of a mysterious ingredient X factor, which increased the effectiveness of the drug, so that after a military experiment it was necessary to inject a person with 3 doses of poison in order for the procedure to be completed. But all but Bane died after the first dose, even due to the, which brings us to our next entry about how poison works in Bane's body, so that a typical carrion acts in the same way as any other drug that alters the physical chemistry of the subject, but the extent can vary depending on the potency of the subject. The drug travels through the bloodstream to reach muscle tissue, where androgen receptors interact with muscle cells, and the DNA of even these cells is altered to stimulate accelerated protein synthesis, as a result of which the tissue fiber becomes thicker and stronger. After taking the first dose of poison, his muscle mass increased by 30%, and it is no less a miracle that he survived what he did. It was only possible because he had trained his body to withstand pain and exhaustion. Once the procedure was completed, Bane stood at a massive 6 feet 8 and weighed about 425 pounds, with the potential to lift about 15 tons of mass with little to no effort. But the effects subsided every 12 hours, so Bane has to pump the drug directly into his brain to suffer a fatal and sudden withdrawal. Not only would he lose his physical superiority, he could also die from systemic shock. But there must be side effects, right? If not the continuous use of poison, Bane's muscles should continue to pump. But somehow his body has learned to maintain balance and curb the uncontrolled growth of his muscles. Besides, The sudden increase in his body mass should practically not lead to enforce the skeletal system to work beyond the limit over time, but it is possible that Bane has mutated his DNA so that his body can survive. Look at his speed, his ferocity, his training. I see the power of the pieces of faith that cost your strength. The victory has defeated you. How does Bane's brain work? So it was about his physiology, but what about his brain and psychology, so that we know that the human brain works and communicates via electrical signals. The neurons pass information through their axons in the form of electrical impulses, which are then sent to the chemical neutron transmitter of the neighboring brain cell. Poison seems to have charged Bane's brain so much that the neurons multiplied and formed an extensive network of neural pathways. Bane's modulatory neurotransmitters are now able to fire as fast as their inhibitory and excitatory transmitters, the time measured in milliseconds in which Bane's brain hardware reconfigured, so that the human brain was never designed to process huge amounts of data with remarkable ease and speed. No one cared who I was until I put the mask on. Why does Bane wear a mask after Bane's surgery? He needed a constant supply of poison to his brain, so implants were inserted into his skull to satisfy the need to become the perfect version of himself. Bane escaped with a group of inmates who served in various capacities. One of them was in fact the scientist. This man named Bird used his connections to secure false identities, and another named Trunk was an expert in electronics and pharmacy. Trough created a portable device that sent poison to Bane's skull implants, and the mask was created to presumably give Bane a more intimidating perspective. As well as to hide some of the injuries and scars caused by the implants. This was a very important device for Bane, because now he could take his poison syringes everywhere and did not have to return to any facility to get his dose, and that also twice a day. In Dark Knight Rises there was a small scene between Bane and Batman that pointed out something similar. If I pull this through, you will die. It would be extremely painful. You are a big guy for you. Here it seems that the mask served as the device, the poison and some anesthetic gas that kept his pain at bay. He most likely suffered serious injuries while trying to protect Talia from the pit prisoners. In addition, the suit that Bane designed is aimed at hiding the scars of the back injury he suffered while protecting Talia. Stop. So what could happen to Bane if he takes poison? An overdose of poison could lead to a dangerous increase in Bane's strength, as a result of which he loses control of his own strength and potentially harms himself and those around him. It could also cause rapid heart rate, seizures with high blood pressure, respiratory arrest, and other life-threatening complications. Although it is an efficiently synthesized drug, the human body cannot really tolerate its effect for a long period of time. Apart from the side effects that I just mentioned, Bane would practically become an angry, violent, uncontrollable, and thoughtless, at least until the effects of the poison began to subside over its dose. So weak the drug would be for his mental health. Needless to say that the overdose would also give Bane immense strength. Besides, the atrophy in the process during a withdrawal would be equally violent and fast, with results ranging from brutal to fatal. But no matter what happens, it seems that it would be extremely difficult for Bane to stop abusing venom. There were cases in the comics where people managed to, but these people didn't abuse it. The thing that I absolutely love about most DC characters is that they are based on some degree of science. Of course, I'm not talking about people like Wonder Woman, Superman, and Darkseid, but characters like Bane, Joker, Riddler, and Batman are very believable, and their actions are based on real events. Let's take Venom for example. Stuff like methamphetamine and PCP give the user a feeling of euphoria and invincibility, but once again it's important to note that the use of these drugs is highly illegal and dangerous and can have serious health consequences. If you liked our content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. A good one, and be sure. Thanks to everyone.